I call Carmel Cipollone.
Mr Chair, I want to talk a little bit in relation to the submissions and the relevance to Part 3 of this bill. And so, Mr Chair, when we're talking about tax credits, we actually had a number of submitters that pointed out issues with regards to tax credits. Some support provided, but also some concerns that were raised. So I want to touch on that. And we had I think it's really important that these submitters have their concerns heard during Select Committee, but also where they support that we also make that known. So we had the Auckland Action Against Poverty group, who said the $20.11 average benefit increase per week per family was welcomed, as was the $8 average in work tax credit increase per week per family. But on their own, they pointed out the fact that these are insufficient to address the hardship of New Zealand children. We had the Child Poverty Action Group discussing the increase to working for family tax credits. They stated that the bill increases the base rate of the in-work tax credit for low-income working families with children by $12.50 per week from the 1st of April. And CPAG said that this reinforces the use of complex work-based measures to meet the needs of children. They felt it would be more preferable to increase the rate of family tax credit by $12.50 so all children would benefit. And I wonder whether or not that was a consideration that the Minister took into consideration, because it was a point that was raised not just by CPAG, but I also think there were some concerns raised by the Children's Commissioner as well, an individual submitter, Graham Howell, Malcolm Croft. And so, Mr Chair, when I was looking through Part 3, I did notice the fact that in order to apply this, it's the abatement rate that's being lifted slightly. And I just wanted to point out that we're very supportive of lifting abatement rates. In fact, we had a bill go through the House recently that we were hoping the Minister would support, because it could have potentially meant almost $50 extra in the families and the pockets of our most poorest families, rather than $25, which we accept as something, but as we've said on a number of occasions, is not enough. So I would like to know whether or not the Minister took into consideration any of the concerns that were raised, not just by CPAG, but also the Auckland Action Against Poverty group, and whether or not their preference, which was to increase the rate of family tax credit by $12.50 so all children benefit, was ever taken into consideration by the Minister or by the National Government. Going to the Children's Commissioner on this particular part of the bill, the Children's Commissioner pointed out that the gap between market and benefit incomes has steadily grown over the past 3 decades because benefit incomes are not indexed to the median wage. So I think someone in here pointed out that before benefits were slashed, so I think around 1991, they were indexed to around 75% of the minimum wage, and it is so far from that now. And I know that the National Government have touted this as some major offering that they're giving these families $25 additional each week, and I know the National Government have tried to highlight the fact that this is the first time benefits have been raised, but what the government haven't taken into consideration is that when Labor introduced working for families, with regards to how it affects these families. When Labor did, it lifted something like 120,000 children out of poverty. This does not lift that number of children out of poverty, and I think that that has to be a concern for all of us. So yeah, I would like to know whether or not the Minister has taken into consideration the preferences raised by the Child Poverty Action Group, any of the concerns around in-work family tax credits, and whether there's been any discussion on that.
Mr. Chairman.
John and Ayla.